There are places where evil doesn't wear a monster's face. It wears the face of someone the whole town trusts. Some people say the worst monsters hide in abandoned houses, but sometimes they hide behind a trusted face. When frightened parents began sending their troubled children to a man who promised to change them forever, no one questioned what happened behind closed doors. The children always returned, quiet, obedient, different. But years later, when I was called to investigate one of those children, I uncovered a mystery that had been buried for decades. What I found challenged everything I thought I knew about fear, memory, and the darkness that can hide in plain sight. I'm Samantha, and this is another case from beyond the sixth sense.
My name is Samantha. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew my life would never be ordinary. Some people believe meditation is simply a way to quiet the mind. For me, it has always been a doorway. When I close my eyes and allow my thoughts to become still, I begin to feel things that don't belong to this world. Places I have never visited appear before me. Faces of strangers drift through my consciousness. Sometimes I hear voices that no one else can hear. Sometimes I experience memories that were never my own. I don't claim to understand why I was given this gift. Perhaps it is God's way of allowing forgotten souls to complete the stories they could never finish. Perhaps every spirit searching for peace simply needs someone willing to listen. Over the years, I have learned one thing. Spirits rarely appear without a reason. They don't seek attention. They seek justice, forgiveness, or freedom. Every investigation has taught me that the greatest horrors are often created by the choices of the living rather than the dead. Just when I believed life was finally becoming peaceful, my phone rang again.
I'm Samantha. For years, I've investigated places where people believed ghosts were responsible for terrible events. But sometimes, the ghost isn't the one you should fear. Sometimes, it's the person who invited the darkness inside. This is one of those cases. In the autumn of 2016, a small village in Northern America became known for one man. Parents spoke of him with admiration. Teachers praised him. Police officers even recommended him. Whenever a child became impossible to control, families would quietly seek out a man named Marcel Duval. No advertisements, no office, only whispered recommendations. They'll come back respectful. They'll obey. They'll never misbehave again. People believed he had a gift. No one questioned how that gift worked. One family eventually brought their 12-year-old son, Tom. Tom wasn't evil. He was impulsive. He skipped school. He argued with teachers. He ignored every rule his parents made. His exhausted parents believed Marcel was their last hope. Marcel asked them for one unusual condition. No one is to visit for 3 nights. Desperate, they agreed. When Tom returned home, something had changed. He obeyed every command instantly. He never smashed. He never laughed. He stared at empty corners of rooms for hours. Every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., he walked through the house with his eyes closed. His parents tried waking him. Nothing worked. Then he began speaking, in perfect Latin, a language he had never learned. 10 years passed. The village eventually forgot Marcel. Families moved away. Children became adults. Marcel disappeared without explanation. The story became another local legend. Until nearly 10 years later, I received an email. It came from Tom's father. The subject line simply read, "Please help my son." When I arrived in the village, Tom was a 30-year-old man. But the moment I stepped into his home, I felt it. The air was unnaturally cold. Every spiritual investigation begins with silence. I talked to Tom's father. He narrated the past story of Tom and Marcel. He explained to me every detail how Tom's behavior completely changed after Marcel disciplined him. he was never a normal human being for the last 10 years. Tom's father narrated when Tom returned home, he was no longer the rebellious boy everyone remembered. He obeyed every command without hesitation, but his smile had completely vanished, as though all emotion had been drained from him. He spent hours staring silently into empty corners, often whispering to someone no one else could see. Every night at exactly the same time, he wandered through the house in his sleep, speaking in a strange language his parents had never heard before. His family had wished for a disciplined child, but deep inside, they feared they had brought home someone entirely different. That night, I stayed at their home and prepared for a meditation. I closed my eyes, slowed my breathing, and entered meditation. Within seconds, I heard dozens of children whispering at once. Not crying, not screaming, whispering, as though they were repeating the same sentence. Obey him, obey him, obey him. When I opened my eyes, the room was empty, but I knew I was not alone. The next morning, I visited the abandoned cottage where Marcel once lived. Nature had reclaimed most of it. Broken windows, collapsed roof, vines crawling over stone walls. Yet the moment I crossed the doorway, my chest tightened. Something ancient still remained. Using my spirit board and protective prayer, I tried to communicate. The response came immediately. Not from Marcel, from a frightened child's spirit. I couldn't leave. Another voice followed. Neither could we. One after another, invisible children surrounded me. None appeared violent, only trapped. As I searched the basement, I found a hidden chamber beneath loose wooden planks. The walls were covered in faded symbols. Old candles had melted into the floor. Chains hung from rusted hooks. At the center sat an old leather-bound journal. Inside, Marcel confessed everything. He never possessed supernatural powers. He had become obsessed with controlling human behavior. While studying forgotten occult writings, he believed he could bind wandering spirits to frightened minds, forcing absolute obedience. The ritual succeeded, but at a terrible cost. Each child left carrying a fragment of those restless spirits. Marcel didn't create discipline. He created spiritual prisons. The strongest connection remained inside Tom. That was why the whispers had followed him for nearly 10 years. That night, I prepared a cleansing ritual inside the abandoned chapel overlooking the village. Candles formed a protective circle. Sacred prayers echoed through the empty stone walls. As Tom stepped inside, the temperature dropped instantly. Dark shadows gathered around him. Dozens of ghostly, childlike figures slowly emerged from the darkness. None attacked. They simply watched, waiting. Then Marcel appeared, not as a man, but as a twisted shadow with hollow eyes. His form seemed to dissolve into black smoke, stretching unnaturally across the stone floor, as if the darkness itself had come alive. The candles around the chapel flickered violently, and the air grew so cold that every breath became visible. A deep, unnatural whisper echoed through the walls, though Marcel's mouth never moved. The ghostly children lowered their heads in silence, as though they had heard that terrifying voice countless times before. His voice filled the chapel. They belong to me. For a brief moment, the entire chapel trembled beneath an invisible force, and the stained glass windows rattled as if something unseen was trying to break through. I refused to answer his anger. Instead, I spoke directly to the trapped children. You were never meant to serve him. One by one, their whispers changed. Instead of, obey him, they began saying, we are free. The chapel shook. The shadows surrounding Marcel cracked like broken glass. A brilliant white light filled the room. The spirits rose together and disappeared into the darkness above. Marcel's shadow let out one final scream before dissolving forever. Silence returned. For the first time in nearly half a century, Tom smiled. A genuine smile. Not because someone forced him to obey, but because he was finally free. People still tell stories about Marcel Duval. Some insist he was a miracle disciplinarian. Others believe he was a monster. After what I witnessed, I believe something else. The greatest evil isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides behind respect. Sometimes it wears the mask of authority. And sometimes, the hardest spirit to defeat is the one people willingly trusted. I'm Samantha, and this was another journey beyond the sixth sense.
Beyond the sixth sense. Samantha closes her eyes, slow breath, sitting still in the dark. She can feel them, cold air, sudden chill. Beyond the sixth sense, she knows, she knows. Beyond the sixth sense, where every secret flows. Beyond the sixth, beyond the sixth, beyond the sixth sense, she feels them drawing near. Samantha sees and beyond the sixth. Beyond the sixth.